from the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador. This is From the South, and I am Stoney Grace. "35 counties in the United States have declared emergencies as Hurricane Michael approaches the northwest coast of Florida. The National Hurricane Center has warned people of an extremely dangerous storm, which could bring surges of up to 4 meters high, calling it a life-threatening event. Michael is expected to make landfall in the Florida Panhandle later on Wednesday. It is then predicted to veer northeast across Georgia and the Carolinas before heading back out over the Atlantic. 3.7 million people are covered by the hurricane warnings. Residents in northwest Florida have been getting ready to face the storm, which is expected to bring high winds and torrential rains. Authorities told tens of thousands of residents and tourists in at least 20 Florida counties to evacuate coastal areas. Almost all shops on the beachfront have been boarded up and closed.
Boarding up. You know, this one's coming pretty close, so got a little nervous. I've got open property over here, so I feel like I'm beachfront, and just a little nervous, so I figured I better, you know, put a little extra effort into it and try to feel a little more
right
comfortable.
Now it's looking pretty bad for us. I mean, we're going to get some wind, we're going to get some rain. I mean, it's just hunker down. I mean, make sure you got enough water, enough to eat, take care of yourself, survive it. It'll be over in a little bit.
Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez says he is concerned about the policies of Brazil's far-right presidential candidate, Jair Bolsonaro. Sanchez's comments came after meeting with the Chilean President Sebastián Piñera. Piñera says he agrees with Sanchez says he agrees with Bolsonaro's economic program, but rejects his racist and misogynistic remarks.
Whatever the result of the election in Brazil, we hope that the government of Brazil will adhere to their international agreements and go beyond just the act of signing agreements, and to perpetuate an intergenerational commitment, which I think is fundamental. It is an enormous concern to announce that a country like Brazil could leave the Paris Agreement when the day before yesterday the UN panel of scientists alerted us of the immediate consequences of global warming and that we need to take urgent and drastic measures.
The Workers' Party presidential candidate in Brazil, Fernando Haddad, says he's reaching out to different political parties. It's central to his strategy for the runoff election on October 28th. Haddad has been meeting with party leaders in Sao Paulo to discuss the next steps for his campaign. On Sunday, he came 17 points behind Bolsonaro in the first round.
This reshaping of the field is very important for us, so we've been in contact with Ciro Gomes and his team. With the leadership of the PSB, the Socialist Party, with PSOL too, which has already given us their support. To form this coalition for freedom, for democracy and for social rights, we haven't contacted the PSDB yet.
Defeated presidential candidate Geraldo Alckmin has taken a neutral stance for Brazil's runoff. The center-right PSBD party leader said that he will support neither Bolsonaro or Haddad. Alckmin got 4.7% of the votes in last Sunday's election.
We decided to free the votes. The party executive board won't support neither one nor the other, neither the PT, nor Haddad, nor even Bolsonaro. Its militants, affiliates, and leaders are free to decide.
Our correspondent in Rio de Janeiro, Andrew Vieira, has more on the political alliances being formed.
The second runoff to presidential elections in Brazil will be on October 28. The parties are starting with the alliance process for the second round. Fernando Haddad has received the support from the Socialism and Freedom Party. In a statement joined by Bulos, he also received the support from the Brazilian Socialist Party. Jair Bolsonaro from the Social Liberal Party has received the support from the PTP. The Social Democrat Party released its intention to support the two candidates. Meanwhile, the Progressive Party is neutral. What's at stake here in Brazil are two different projects. The first project, headed by Jair Bolsonaro, is the one that privatizes the majority of state companies in Brazil and also promotes budget cuts to social projects. Bolsonaro's position based on Michel Temer's government that also led millions of people into extreme poverty. On the other hand, there is Fernando Haddad, with his Sovereignty and Development Project. He promises to be the representative of the workers, to make projects to generate jobs in Brazil, also to develop regional integration through Mercosur, a project of privatization versus sustainable development.
Delegates from all over Colombia and the international community are in Bogota to participate in the Legislative and Popular Assembly of the Peoples. The participants rejected the neoliberal policies of Ivan Duque, the murders of social leaders, as well as the other social and economic conflicts within the country.
With ancestral rituals, organizations from different sectors began the Legislative and Popular Assembly of the Peoples, with which they look forward to achieve unity among Colombians, who reject the economic policies of President Ivan Duque. They demand to speed up the enforcement of the peace agreement and the dialogues with ELN.
It is urgent for the Colombian people to organize against the neoliberal and paramilitary attacks of Ivan Duque, who is just a puppet of Álvaro Uribe. This assembly is the chance for the people to unite and organize social mobilizations.
Communities reject the murder of social leaders, stigmatization and violation of basic rights, such as education, housing, and even life itself. All this committed by the government, who ignores the needs of the people.
Violation of human rights is a common thing due to the abandonment of the state, which allows racism against the Afro-descendants communities and persecution against social leaders.
Delegates from Choco, Putumayo, the Cauca Valley, Caqueta, Nariño, among other departments, and also international community attended the assembly. They talk about the need to defend human rights and peace for the region.
Fraternity among peoples is important. There can be military intervention supported by the US and imperialism.
Social organizations want to change this world because the current capitalist system and imperialism is merciless.
The Legislative and Popular Assembly of the Peoples will end with a national mobilization on October 12th to ask the government for solutions.
Justice in Argentina has won a historic battle this week. For the first time, a court has recognized forced abortion as a separate crime against humanity. The trial dealt with the case of Sylvia Supo, who was kidnapped by the military dictatorship in 1977 and held in a secret prison, where she was raped. Supo became pregnant and then was forced to terminate the pregnancy. She spent 33 years seeking justice, but after giving testimony during the trial in 2010, she was murdered. Let's listen to some of her testimony from that trial.
They forced me to get undressed and they took me to a room. They tied my arms and legs and covered my head with a hood. 3 persons entered the room and they raped me. I couldn't shout or move. After that, they untied me and said to get dressed. Then I went to the toilet. That was when I walked through this long hallway and tripped over with bodies on the floor. After that, they took me to the police station again.
Earlier, we spoke with Susana Chiarotti, a lawyer who specializes in human rights and gender issues, about the importance of the decision in the Supo case and how this sets a precedent for Argentina.
In our view, it is the third invasion that her body suffered. The first one was when she was raped. She was her sexual freedom was invaded. The second one was with the forced pregnancy. It's the second invasion to her body. And the third one is when she was taken to a clinic to amend the error, as they said. Her body was invaded by the third time. So they were 3 separate invasions, and we need to visualize each one of them. This case is the first case in which forced abortion is punished. So it's visualized, it's investigated, and it's punished. So it's the first precedent. It's very important, and I think will settle also an international precedent.
We'll take a short break now, and we'll have more news in a minute.
with developing events being presented through analysis. Our coverage transcends borders. With renowned journalist Walter Martinez.
Salud, amigos, tripulantes de nuestra querida, contaminada y única nave espacial.
Dossier. Weekdays. Only on Telesur.
Y ponga usted las cámaras, señor director.
Welcome back. Residents in the Mexican city of Ecatepec are shocked after the arrest of a couple who allegedly killed at least 20 women. The couple were caught carrying human body parts. They have admitted to the murders, and the man also said he raped some of the victims and then sold parts of their body. People in Ecatepec are demanding action over violence against women. Over 300 women and girls were murdered last year in the state of Mexico.
Personally, it has really disturbed my nerves that we have such a bad people around, and to think that here it happens and it is so normalized that it can be behind you. It's very sad. It's very sad to know that there is such an evil so close.
The Bolivian Assembly has approved a decree which allows former presidents to be granted amnesty. Freddy Morales explains from La Paz.
The Lawmaking Assembly has approved a presidential decree in which former presidents Carlos Mesa and Jorge Quiroga can receive amnesty. The socialists voted in favor while the opposition abstained, arguing that the decision must be ruled in the same way as every victim of political persecution. Morales pronounced amnesty before the Bolivian maritime case was judged in The Hague, to show the Bolivian commitment to build unity above all. But immediately, both presidents gave thanks to the president, but rejected the move, standing by their claims of innocence. Quiroga is being investigated for signing oil contracts without congressional authorization. Mesa is responsible for the loss of more than $42 million in an international trial. Gabriel Montagno, Deputy's Chamber President, has said amnesty, which forgives accusation, must not be confused with a pardon that forgoes penalty. The opposition accused the government of initiating the process to enable Mesa to run in the next year's elections. He has since made his candidacy official.
Peru's President Martin Vizcarra has called upon citizens to reject a proposed constitutional change to re-establish a bicameral Congress. Vizcarra says Congress has distorted his original proposal. The reform is one of 4 measures proposed for the constitutional referendum to be held on December 9th.
On the fourth reform, on the restitution of the bicamerality of Parliament, we say no, as it has been proposed by Congress. It has distorted the project that we've proposed. We're very respectful of the separation of powers. We're very respectful of institutionalism. So that's why the 4 constitutional reform projects that we have received today will be submitted to a referendum so that the public can weigh in.
Vizcarra had threatened to close down Congress if it failed to agree to send his 4 anti-corruption reforms to a referendum. The changes include regulating the financing of political organizations, a ban on the immediate re-election of members of parliament, and the return of a bicameral Congress. In Ecuador, political and social movements are condemning what they say are irregularities in the registration process for next year's local elections.
Ecuador's local election will be held on March 24th. The National Electoral Council has given the green light to just under 280 political organizations to participate in the coming polls.
It has been a civic, transparent, plural and fair process. We did not stop or interfere with the democratic process. Various movements complied with the requirements. They have given green light to a new democracy.
Despite the assurance, the Citizen Revolution movement says it incurred challenges and irregularities when trying to register for the elections. Members believe it is all part of a systematic ploy to victimize Correa supporters. They say it's poor political persecution.
This will be an election in which one of the main political movements of the country will not participate in next year's local polls. We will not be allowed to take part because we believe the National Electoral Council has interfered. Now, how can we not have doubt about the final results?
Analysts waiting on the situation say this will create additional challenges.
This strategic marginalization of social and political movements aligned to Correaism is nothing but a political strategy of those who govern. This approach will very likely backfire. New political organizations will try to come on board to fill the void.
It's not the end of the road of the Citizen Revolution movement. Members say they will now form new alliances with other movements to ensure that they have a chance at putting their stamp on Ecuador's governance. Denise Herrera, Telsur, Ecuador.
Barbados' ambassador to the United Nations says a lack of reliable data is hampering efforts to ensure the protection of children's rights. Elizabeth Thompson was speaking on behalf of CARICOM at the 11th meeting of the Social, Humanitarian and Cultural Committee on Tuesday.
UNICEF informs us that more than 650 million children live in 52 countries that are off track, or at least two-thirds of the child-related SDG indicators will not be met in those countries, for which data is available. And over 500 million children live in 64 countries that lack sufficient data for useful assessment of their status. To have sustained progress, reliable data is needed, including in the CARICOM region.
Consumer confidence in Jamaica is at a record high, according to the Chamber's latest Business and Consumer Confidence Survey. For the third quarter ending September, the index rose to 172.6 points, up from 159.1 points. The outlook was driven by positive perceptions of current and future employment. According to the survey, more Jamaicans expect their income to increase in the last quarter of 2018. In fact, 37% say they foresee an improved economy. Haiti continues to try and get back on its feet after Saturday's deadly earthquake. At least 15 people have died and 300 others injured in the 5.9 magnitude earthquake, which destroyed around 40 houses. Widespread panic has engulfed the northern part of the country. In 2010, a 7.0 magnitude earthquake devastated the capital of Port-au-Prince. Haiti's Caribbean coastline along the shores of the northern city of Cap-Haitien is being choked with tons of plastic waste. Locals have seen their coastline inundated with plastic pollution, from bags to bottles to plastic cutlery and packaging materials. With rubbish collection facilities in the impoverished county scarce, some locals are dumping their waste in the Caribbean Sea, only to see it washed back on shore later on. We'll take another short break now. World News is next.
Telesur brings you special interviews with social and political personalities. Monday, from Washington. Tuesday, from Mexico. Wednesday, from Caracas. Thursday, from Quito. Friday, from Havana. Analysis about our continent's reality. Weekdays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. At least 51 people have died in a bus accident between the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, and the city of Kisumu. According to police, the bus driver lost control while driving down a steep slope and overturned. Its entire roof tore off. Details on the cause of the accident were not immediately available. According to official statistics, around 3,000 people are killed annually in road accidents in Kenya. The United States has said it is concerned over the disappearance and alleged murder of the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi in the Saudi consulate in Turkey.
From the Secretary on down, we have been engaged in this matter. This is something that we've been following. I understand that the President intends to speak with the Saudis, so I'm not going to get ahead of that conversation that the President may be having.
And UN experts have also called on Turkey and Saudi Arabia to conduct independent investigations into the disappearance of Jamal Khashoggi. The spokesman for the Turkish Foreign Ministry, Hami Aksoy, reported that Turkey received permission from Saudi Arabia to conduct an investigation at its consulate in Istanbul. Last Wednesday, the Turkish Arab Media Association reported that the columnist from the Washington Post disappeared after entering the building of the consulate in Istanbul.
We call for cooperation between Turkey and Saudi Arabia to conduct a prompt, impartial and independent investigation into the circumstances of Mr. Khashoggi's disappearance and to make the findings public.
Authorities have arrested a Bulgarian man in Germany over the rape and murder of the Bulgarian television journalist Victoria Marinova. The 20-year-old suspect is expected to be extradited to Bulgaria on Wednesday. The chief prosecutor of the case said that they cannot state at this point whether her murder was linked to her investigative work or not. According to the NGO Reporters Without Borders, Bulgaria ranks the lowest in terms of press freedom in the European Union. The director of the International Monetary Fund, Christine Lagarde, has called upon world leaders to reduce tensions over trade. She also urged nationalist politicians not to push for higher tariffs and encourage protectionism. She made the comments during the annual meeting of the IMF and World Bank in Indonesia. Finance ministers and central bankers from many of the IMF's 189 member states took part in the event.
We need to join hands to fix the global trade system, not destroy it. Fix it, not destroy it. This means looking at the distortionary effects of state subsidies, improving the enforcement of intellectual property rights, and taking steps to ensure effective competition to avoid the excess of market-dominant positions.
Tensions boiled over at the Valencian Community Parade in Valencia as far-right groups tried to disrupt the event. Riot police were forced to intervene to separate nationalist groups from the parade. Valencia celebrates the day of its autonomous community on October 9th, when the flag is carried from City Hall to the streets of the statue of James I. Clashes have erupted in France's capital, Paris, between police and anti-government protesters. Demonstrators are angry about the government's policies that are causing the destruction of the social model and prompting inequality. The Russian representative to the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, OPCW, has said that the UK and the US are trying to interfere with how the organization functions. Speaking from The Hague, Alexander Shulgun said moves by Washington and London represent an attack on the UN Security Council. Syrian Deputy Foreign Minister Faisal Mekdad denounced attempts by the US, France and the United Kingdom to politicize the work of the OPCW. Senegal's capital, Dakar, has been confirmed as the host of the 4th edition of the Youth Summer Olympic Games in 2022. The decision was made by a unanimous vote at the International Olympic Committee session that was held in Argentina by the president of the organization, Thomas Bach. After the announcement, the director of the Olympic Games, Christophe Dubai, called it a historic moment and great news for the entire African continent. 3 locations will host the event: the capital Dakar, the city of Diamniadio, and the Sali region. A 50,000-seater stadium will be constructed as part of the Senegalese government's backed project.
First, let's celebrate the fact that the Youth Games are going to Senegal in Dakar 2022. And that's a first, as you heard the President mentioning the historic moment that we all witnessed this morning.
The fastest man on earth is getting ready for his first full game of professional football. Usain Bolt has been training with his team, the Central Coast Mariners, in Australia. The Jamaican sprinter says the coach has told him that he is likely to be in the starting lineup for Friday's game against Macarthur South West United in Sydney. Bolt made his footballing debut in August when he came on as a substitute.
I can't say I've been improving, and you won't know what level you're at until you actually play a competitive game. So I just got to go out there and play and then see what I need to do, or if I should continue or if not. So I'm just pushing myself. I think I've put in a lot of work, so now it's just to go out there and to execute.
From sprinting to football, and we've come to the end of this news brief. For these and many other stories, you can find them on our website at telsyortv.net/English. And join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Tell Us Your English, I'm Sony Gray. Thank you for watching.